The Best Way to Explain It, Episode 4. To another episode of The Best Way to Explain It, the podcast where it sometimes feels like you're listening to that guy tell you how he is after you've asked him how he is, but you really weren't interested in knowing how he was. You know what I'm talking about?
Wow. You just described every conversation I've had with you.
Oh my God, wow. That's not where I thought you were taking that. That's a burn.
That is a burn. I do know what you're saying because I've had that feeling about twice today.
Really?
Yeah. I asked my dad how his work was when I walked in for lunch, and then I'm pretty sure after I sat down, I asked him again.
Oh, you didn't care though.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a day. So
people, I think we as humans hate silence, and so we ask people how they're doing to fill that awkward silence.
Yeah.
And that's just a crutch that we as humans have.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, but speaking of crutches, and yeah, you have no idea where I'm going with this.
Nope,
I guarantee it.
I do not.
So, did you ever own one of those scooters that you'd like put one foot on and like the other one you just keep pushing and
like a razor scooter?
Right, they were like metal.
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah.
Okay. I saw this guy just trucking along on the way to class. I was coming back from class, and he just zoomed right by me. I mean, he was clearly an expert at scootering, and I thought to myself, that is the coolest guy I have ever seen in my entire life.
I don't know if I sense a bit of sarcasm or not.
No.
You really think that was cool?
He was just like, he didn't care about what anybody thought. Like, he knew people were staring at him and thought, oh, wow, I remember when I was 10, but he didn't care. He just kept scootering along. And, okay, so I know you're probably wondering, why did crutches make you think of that scooter?
Because you always flung them around and whacked your heel with them,
okay,
right?
yes, you totally did.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that you caught on to that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I followed once you like actually got to what you were talking about, but I had no idea where you were going. Like, crutches. Who starts off a podcast talking about crutches?
To be honest, that's not where I intended this conversation to go, but I just remembered that, and I just remembered how cool that guy was.
Well, I respect that perspective. I was more of the horrible person who was like, oh, it's Scooter Man scooting along again,
Let's be honest, though, the people that always like ran with the Naruto run, with their hands way behind, they're probably the coolest people to hang out with nowadays. Do you ever have those people?
Yeah. Those people are always the most surprising, like fun people to hang out with after you get to know them. If you just know them as like Naruto run guy, then you're like, that dude sounds weird, and please get away from me, sir.
We're kind of, throughout all of our lives, we're probably Naruto run guy to some person.
That's one humbling thing that I've always thought. And maybe it's bad that it's humbling, but
yeah, no.
Yeah.
That might be the deepest thing I've ever said. And that's the coolest way I probably could have put it, to be honest.
Yeah. That is pretty deep. I was not expecting such a deep level of conversation for the first 4 minutes.
Yeah, check out our Naruto blog on thebestwaytoexplainit.com. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have a Naruto blog. Though,
now I'm
going to
find a way to do it. Yeah.
You're going to add that into your next blog post.
Mm-hmm.
I will
change up your workouts by running like Naruto.
Oh man, I would pay money for that workout program. I would pay way too much money for that workout program.
Have you seen all the workouts where they're like, look like Spider-Man, look like this person, and then it'll just be like 18 hours worth of abs?
No.
It was a big thing back when CrossFit was just starting out, I think. And it would be like the Spider-Man workout, and then you would like jump on top of a box and land like Spider-Man and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought you meant like look like the actor or something like that.
Nah, not really.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
But you actually look like the superhero during the workout.
I guess. I've never tried them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, try one with Naruto.
You never know.
Okay.
You never know.
Before our audience thinks we're a bunch of weebs that watch an anime, why don't you go ahead and get us started on today's topic? Actually, first of all, if for those of you who don't know, the best way to explain it is a podcast where we basically take a random topic that one of us is interested in, or one of you guys is interested in. If you're interested in making a suggestion at thebestwaytoexplainit.com/suggestions, and we try to break it down in kind of plain English for you guys. And yeah, we have a lot of fun doing it, and it's a good academic and intellectual challenge for each of us. And Breckan, what are you going to be explaining to us today? Because I get to take this week off.
Well, Scott, I'm explaining record players.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
the vinyls.
The vinyls. Yes, we're taking a very hipster direction with this one.
Gosh, I should get my French press for coffee out or something.
Yeah.
Or Chemex. Chemex is probably more hipster.
I'd say Chemex or any other pour over would be more hipster, but it also alienates the audience who doesn't know that.
Yeah, Chemex is just a way to make coffee, and both of us have them, and highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. If you're not a trucker and you still drink Folgers, please get into this century. Nah, the worst part, I'm going to go on a tangent about coffee.
That's
but
fine.
I do still drink Folgers when I need the function of caffeine, but not the flavor of good hipster coffee.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's a rough life. But anyway, back to record players. So when I was
we can't really be back to them if we never really started them.
Well, we introduced the topic.
We introduced the idea of introducing the topic.
Sometimes you start a sentence and you just don't know where it's going.
I just hope I can find it along the way.
Oh my.
Okay, please continue. I apologize for that rude interruption.
Yeah, how dare you? All right, so when I was a little kid, I always thought like DJs were cool, and I saw the records, and I thought those were cool too. And something about it seemed so cool to me, like when I was first seeing them back, like when I would watch Disney Channel, and they would show, I think it was some girl out in California, and she was like, I wanted to be a DJ, so I became a DJ. And I was like, wow, that sounds really easy. But that was my first introduction into actual records and all that, but I never really got to listen to one for the longest time. And then I got into college, and after, making the transition from CDs where I would listen to the Backstreet Boys, and then I would move on to MP3s and listen to a little more punk, emo rock and stuff like that. But then when I got to college, I found out that record players were like fairly cheap now. And I asked for one for Christmas because I'm not above that. And I got one, and I got a couple records along with it. And records just seemed so cool, and not a lot of people understand how they work. They may understand like, oh, the sound waves are on the record or whatever, and we'll get into it. But they don't understand the history. They don't understand what it is. But what I like about records is it's a way to focus on the music. And I know you have had a roommate. I'm not sure. You still have a roommate that listens to records, right, Jordan?
Oh, yeah, he does.
Shouts out to Jordan. And he's over the top hipster about it. He's got the focal point in the room and everything.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
He doesn't keep him in our room, though.
Oh, not anymore?
In the dorm anymore. No, he keeps it at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, before we started this podcast, I read a lot of blog posts on Art of Manliness. I think this might be the second time I've mentioned them. Or I mentioned them in my first blog post that you can see on thebestwaytoexplainit.com. It's called Jumping In. And Art of Manliness talks about listening to records as a great date idea, because instead of just throwing on some music and making dinner or something, you can sit back, relax, and listen to records as a date idea. So for those of you who are looking for date ideas, there you go. I'm helping you guys with your love lives.
Vinyl and chill.
Yeah. Very true. It works.
Okay.
All right.
This is
going off the deep end already. So, in the history of record players and everything, there's it started out with the phonograph, and it's the grandparent of the modern day record player. It was used to record sound and play it back, as opposed to the modern record players, which only play sound. And it uses a cylinder wrapped in tinfoil and a thin membrane called a diaphragm attached to a needle. So when sound waves hit that diaphragm, it vibrates, while the tinfoil cylinder is cut by the needle to record the sound vibrations from the diaphragm. To play the sound, this process basically works in reverse, where the needle is set to the beginning of the cylinder and the vibrations are amplified by the originally named amplifier. I mean,
that would make sense.
Who would have guessed that they would call it that?
Right. Okay. So they used to record. So when they would record, when the Beatles or whatever would record their music in vinyl, they would do it using a phonograph?
This predates the Beatles by a little bit.
Okay.
But it's the same sort of thing, because the Beatles were recorded in studio, so they were able to record those on different devices, and then we'll get into that a little bit later on how they made records with that. Yeah. So the breakthrough in technology was invented by Thomas Edison, or whoever he stole it from, for those of you who understand what Edison did, which was basically run think tanks. And then it was improved upon by Emil Berliner, who developed a hand crank machine that turned a hard rubber disc on a flat plate. So looking a lot more similar to our modern day record players, if you've ever seen one. I'll include a picture for you guys in the show notes just in case. And then this became known as the gramophone. And although it was an improvement on the phonograph, it could only play back recordings, but it provided public access to music that only the wealthy could afford to listen to at that time. So the middle class of those days could listen to operas and the classical music that you hear from back then or see in World War II movies, kind of.
Could only the grandmas listen to the gramophone?
I don't even know how to respond to that. I can see the smirk on your face, even though we are 2 hours away, and
Okay, well, okay, that was really low hanging fruit, but sometimes you just gotta eat that fruit that's there to be picked, you know.
Just excellent metaphors tonight.
I really am killing it on those tonight. Or maybe it's morning. We don't know.
Oh yeah, throw everyone off.
Definitely not 9:32 p.m.
Yeah, gee whiz, it's past my bedtime.
Did you just use gee whiz non-ironically?
I always use gee whiz.
Okay.
Both ironically and non-ironically.
Non-ironically? It's unironically.
Well,
wait, did I say non-ironically?
Yeah, you said non-ironically.
Oh, gosh, I'm ashamed.
Yeah, your parents are going to kill you.
I doubt they'd kill me over such a small, turn of phrase, but still, that they would be unhappy.
Hey, while we're still recording, can we talk about record players again?
Maybe we'll put this podcast on vinyl.
Hey.
That would be the most inefficient, expensive way to do it, but...
That would.
it would be kind of meta.
We could throw it on 45 and then sell it to our biggest fans.
The best of.
Yeah.
Ooh. Maybe when we reach episode, 100 or 1,000. Well, probably 1,000.
Probably 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000. We will put this singular episode on a record and sell it for $25.
Hey, that's pretty expensive even for a normal record. But okay.
I don't know what they cost.
Anywhere from like $12 to $30, depending on.
Okay, so that's
how
not
new. Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's not terrible, and some people think you get a better sound quality.
Oh yeah, isn't that kind of why you do it?
Yeah, you get a lot of people say you get a warmer sound from records. So
How would you describe a warmer sound?
So, if you were to hear an electric guitar versus an acoustic guitar, the acoustic guitar is warmer. It has deeper bass tones and
Sounds like sharp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see warm. Warm being an analogy
can you
there.
understand that? Yeah. So, to follow along with the gramophone, now we're moving into more modern day record players. They still rely on the basic needle and groove concept, although the technology has improved greatly since Berliner's time. New records use a needle placed on a spiral groove that moves slowly into the middle of the plastic record. Some record players even have the ability to like stop the record after it hits a certain point, like at the end of the record. And then the vibrations that are recorded on this record will vibrate the arm of the record player and move a coil at the end of the arm into a sound transducer. When the vibrations hit the coil, they're turned into electronic signals, which move through circuitry in the player and are then carried through wires to the amplifier. So, same basic concept as before, just less analog and more digital. And then after the amplifier, the sounds recorded on the record move through the speakers and are finally transmitted as sound through the airwaves.
Okay,
Pretty
so
cool stuff.
Yeah. So a few questions I have, or maybe just one. I might have two, though, depending on your answer.
Okay.
So when you start a record, you start on the farthest out side, right? Like you want it really far out. So it basically tries to find the groove. Is that kind of what it's doing at the beginning when it's not playing anything?
Yeah. So they'll make it so that it moves the needle inward toward that first start of the sound waves. I'm trying to think of how to explain that. So you put the arm and the needle down onto the record, and then it has grooves that push that needle up into the correct spot. So no matter where you put it, it will find its way to the spot just following those grooves. And then it will start playing the music.
Okay. So if you were to place it like right in the middle, it would start at just kind of a random song?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
if you have a well-made record, you can see where each song starts and stops. There'll be a shiny black line, and then you can try and align the needle with that specific spot if you want to try and skip a song. A lot of people might not like the second song on an album or something and feel like they should skip it. Okay. I've done it a couple times, and honestly, I just like listening to each album I have all the way through. So yeah. Well,
you probably wouldn't get a record on vinyl unless you liked every song well enough to listen to it.
Or you just buy everything on vinyl to be a hipster.
Yeah.
Which is
You're not that hipster though, are you?
No. I just buy who I like. So I have like Johnny Cash and Taking Back Sunday. And, yeah. Johnny Cash on vinyl is awesome.
Oh, I bet. What do you have from Johnny Cash?
It's his The Legend of Johnny Cash album, so it's basically every number one hit he's had.
Oh.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Do you have his last one?
Hurt?
Yeah.
I've got Hurt, and then I've got a couple others on American 4.
Yeah.
I don't think I have all of them though.
Gosh.
Obviously I don't have all of them, but that record is really good.
Oh, Hurt is the best song ever.
It's true. Especially when they used it in Logan.
Oh
for
my
the
gosh.
for the trailer.
The trailer?
Yeah.
That hooked me. I was so there as soon as I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a beautiful mixture of music and cinema.
Really, really though. Okay, so you can skip songs, you can start them kind of in the middle or wherever. So what makes that pop then? Like, what is that for? Because, like, that's pretty well known as that's part of what record
like
playing is.
The pop in the middle of the music and stuff, or the
Right.
That's a really good question, actually. It can come from multiple stuff. That the pop that you hear at the end of the record is basically the needle sitting in the same groove and then skipping over and then popping on that each time it goes around.
Okay.
And then other times are when maybe a vibration other than the ones on the grooves on the vinyl pop it up. It can like jump, or if you're getting really violent and like jumping and dancing around, it can skip over and everything, and that's when you get the record skips. Other stuff could be debris on the vinyl if you don't clean it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So debris can like get in the grooves? Is that usually what happens?
Little dust fragments and stuff.
Right.
That'll build up around the needle, and that can change the sound of it because it'll affect that. It'll dampen those vibrations that the needle is reading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this idea of it being grooves. So I've heard of records like being worn out. Is that just because like the needle has like worn away at those grooves, and then it doesn't produce the sound the same way it used to?
Yeah. So the needle is made of a very sharp substance. Some of them are diamonds, others are plastic with like an oily covering, basically.
So the diamond ones, those are like the really nice ones.
Yeah, those are pretty nice. Anything coated in diamonds is going to be fairly expensive.
But I was wondering if that was the best, because I mean it could be diamonds but not be the best.
Yeah. From what I've read, it's the diamonds are the best, the most used as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so the only solution then would be to just buy that same record again.
Yeah, if you can find it. Or,
do you know how?
Yeah.
Oh, go for it.
Well, you might be able to refurbish them. I haven't really looked into that because I haven't had a record wear out. I have had a record skip on one of the most popular songs, which is kind of annoying, but then it picks back up again and you just kind of forget about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, oh shoot, what was I totally had a train of thought that it was gonna be a great question, and I'm gonna keep talking until I can find it.
Or I can move along with what else I've got written down.
Oh, shoot. I swear I have it. Okay, you keep going, and I'll be sure to. I'll just jump. I'll just rudely interrupt you once I think of it.
Yeah, I hate when that happens to me.
Oh, it's the worst.
So we've really simply explained how a record player works, but one thing that's always fascinated me is the fact that there's so much different music out there, and yet most genres have some sort of vinyl made of them. So my question has always been, how does that work? How do they get those on the different music to sound different on a record when it seems like the sound waves would sound the same, I guess. And I've kind of answered the question already, but I was like, how does that different music from so many different instruments get into one sound wave that is produced onto one record?
It seems like a pretty complex, sound wave to carry all that information.
Yeah. So, and basically it's just because those sound waves are so unique that they just blend together. So you've got the drums, you've got the bass, you've got the guitar. They all blend together into one sound wave. And then that sound wave is cut into the groove. And then that groove plays back the music through the record player. And that answers a very complex question very simply. But with all the complicated music and everything, and the fact that we mix the sound, as I said earlier, we would get to them actually mixing the sound, which they did with the Beatles and Johnny Cash and all those people back then. They mix that sound in sound editing software, and then the electronic signals are fed through an arm that scratches a master copy of a record, and then a cast is made of that master copy. And then this cast, which is basically the negative imprint of a master copy record, it is used to produce at large amounts the records that you can buy in record shops or in Target sometimes, all those places. So that's basically how they mass produce records.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it's like it's all just a physical process. So we just figured out a way to scratch stuff onto a piece of vinyl until it made the sound we wanted.
Yep.
When you say it that way, it's like, let's go listen to this needle scratch this vinyl for an hour.
Yeah, and that's essentially what you're doing, but it produces some amazing sound and awesome stuff.
So is it the fact that it's physical, is that what kind of gives it that rich sound? That warm sound?
You could say that, if I'm reading your question the right way, you could say it's a little bit of nostalgia for an earlier time that makes the physical process of listening to that music more personal, maybe. Mm-hmm. As far as it being warm, I think it's the way that even though they can get so many complex sounds onto the vinyl still sounds different than your computer reading sound waves or, the CD or the MP3 file,
The mathematical representation of
the ones
the
and the
wave.
Zeros.
Right, as we learned in the first episode.
Yeah.
bestwaytoexplainit.com/1 if you're interested to learn about how computers represent data.
Or you can keep listening to record players. Yeah.
No, but you wouldn't get to know how computers represent data unless you listen to our soon to be released on episode 1000 record of greatest hits of the best way to explain it.
I figured we were researching 2 topics and then recording 2 topics each day just to get to that 1000, right?
Oh, are we? Okay.
Quantity over quality.
Why don't we research and record 1000 every day, and then we could release tomorrow?
That is true. And then we'll have to just find buckets to put all of our money in,
because we'd just be making so much money from this
somehow
very well produced and high quality record.
Oh, I'm okay with that. 1,000 in one day.
Yeah, except they would be short.
Yeah.
The best way to explain it: short mode.
Just quick topics. Like we'll do quick fire, shortest podcast ever. Ooh. World record.
That could be actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
Maybe we could do a quick fire episode now and then where we just take a couple of like very small topics and explain them.
That would be fun. And then or, it would be a fun episode?
Mm-hmm.
If we just randomly told each other topics off the top of our heads, and the other person had to guess as well as they could how exactly they worked.
Interesting. And then we take a week and then we research each topic
that
we go through and see how we did. Yeah. That might be interesting.
Yeah.
That might be interesting.
There's a lot of potential here.
Yeah. Bonus episodes. We're just spitballing ideas for you guys. So if you have any of them, send them to the best way to explain it.
.com/ suggestions.
I love it.
Please.
I love how simple that is.
Yeah, that's what we did. But since Breckan decided to be a little short this week, a little abbreviated in his...
It is a very short topic with all the research that I did for it. There's a lot of interesting stuff if you want to get into like how sound is produced with electronics, but I think that could be done in a different episode so we could get very deep, and so that this one isn't 2 hours long.
True.
Yeah.
True. Hey, well, no, that's cool. That was really interesting. I've always wondered how exactly. Okay, so I've had that was kind of what I thought records did.
Yeah,
but I wasn't. I needed it confirmed from a trusted source, and so now I'm gonna Google it and make sure that you're not just lying to me.
Well, that's exactly what I did. So
because if I can find it on the internet, it's correct.
It's true. See, anyone can write on there, so you know you're getting the best information at all times.
Statistically speaking.
Yeah. Just like statistically speaking, if I were to say happy birthday and we had 50 listeners, I would be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else?
Not really.
Okay. Well, that's the best way to explain. Well, I'll let you say that.
That's the best way to explain record players. Thanks for saying the first half.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right. See you next time.
Get learning.